All right, hello and welcome to today's webinar, Summer 2022 P-EBT Deep Dive. My name is Kelsey Boone and I am a Child Nutrition Policy Analyst with FRAC. Over the course of this webinar, feel free to use the Q&A function to ask our panelists questions, which will be addressed in the chat or during whatever Q&A time we have at the end of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and the recording and the slides will be sent out to everyone who is registered within 2 weeks of the conclusion of this presentation. If we don't get to Q&A, we will collect your questions and try to answer them and summarize them in that follow-up email. As I'm sure you all are aware, we are heading into yet another difficult summer full of new challenges when it comes to keeping kids fed. One way states can address this challenge is by submitting and implementing a summer 2022 P-EBT plan for both school-age students and children in childcare. A state only has to have one school year 2021-2022 plan in order to apply for summer for both populations. This means a state has to have either a childcare plan or school-age plan for the school year to get benefits to both children under 6 and school-age students. Summer plans are simpler for most states than the school-age plans, as issuances are sent to all school-age students who are certified for free or reduced price meals, regardless of their school's operating status during the year, and to all children under the age of 6 on SNAP. Today we are going to hear from Brandon Harden from the state of Alabama and Cynthia Irvin from North Carolina to discuss their state plans for the summer and how they plan to get students P-EBT benefits for the summer. So Brandon, I will hand it off to you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Kelsey. And thank you to FRAC for the opportunity to present today. My name is Brandon Harden. I'm the SNAP Director in the state of Alabama, and we are very grateful to have the opportunity to talk to you about our summer P-EBT plan. So if you go to the next slide, please. So I wanted to start off as we were one of the states that had a significant issue in getting a school year plan together. So when FNS came out with the ability to have childcare as a part of our plan to be able to get summer, we were able to jump on that fairly quickly. We got a school year child care plan approved and then turned around and we've already issued one allotment of that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on child care, but I just want to make sure that the states that may be on here or the advocates that may be on here understand that the child care plan can help you get the summer P-EBT plan. Next slide, please. So we were actually the first state to get approved for summer P-EBT. Very grateful to my policy staff and everyone at FNS CRO region and our state, the national office in helping us get this approved. We did choose to do an actual, we did make sure that all the children identified under age of 6 who were enrolled in the SNAP care, child care, and then we turned around and did the standard benefit for the actual the benefit, which is $391. Next slide, please. We did do this. We identified all the school-age children and determined them who were free and reduced price meals. We've been working closely with our Department of Education and making sure that we've been letting them know all along that our plan was to do summer P-EBT, and they've been working those with the local school systems in regard to getting us the data. We also have been working because of the issue of a lot of kids ate for free. Actually, all kids in Alabama ate for free last school year under the seamless summer option. So we were able to keep our application open for summer P-EBT all the way to August 31st, 2022. So I think that's a very important situation where a lot of families may have not filled out their free and reduced lunch application. And again, we are going to issue the $391. Next slide, please. One of the things that we also did is include our child care plan for summer in our summer P-EBT plan. So we got a combined approval for child care. One of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about here is that you had to go in with that minimum allotment of 195 for the public health emergency. But we did include in ours, which was a little bit of a novel approach, instead of having to go back for any kind of approvals, that we said, hey, if we're issuing retrospectively in this situation, so we're going to go back, when we do issue this, it'll be after whether or not the public health emergency is extended in July. So we said, hey, if we will know whether or not we're doing 195 or 391. And so it did include that in our actual waiver. And we wrote those both in there, that we would either issue the 195 if the public health emergency was ended, or if it didn't end, that we would issue the 391 sometime in August. Next slide. One of the things that's very interesting about summer PBT that's crucial in making sure that you're not issuing duplicate benefits is making sure that you do the data matches. So we will match our data file received from ALSDE to ensure that all children eligible are issued summer PBT. DHR also plans to distribute summer PBT according to a staggered issuance schedule below. We'll start with our school children, and then we'll move on to our child care children, and then come back and match those. We'll match those files to make sure that we're not doing issuing benefits to those that are in child care that might also be enrolled in school. And we make sure that most of those people will be in your kindergarten classes that we are dealing with, or maybe even preschool. Next slide. Very important thing is also our customer service plan. As many of you know, the SNAP folks on here and on the advocacy groups, that this is a hot topic. So the customers are going to continue to call and continue to ask questions. So we've had the luxury of dealing with Maximus and having an actual call center. We've had that in place since the beginning, since May of 2020. We were able to get that call center procured, and we do a helpline for that. So parents and guardians have the opportunity to call that customer service representative from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and we have escalations that will either go to DHR on our side for the SNAP side for any issuance problems, or go over to the Department of Education if there are any type of eligibility questions. This is a service contract by the state. And our current estimates for PEBT this year are around, for summer PEBT, are around $189 million and 485,000 children. And so on slide 8, slide 8, next slide. Best practices. One of the things that, again, I'm blessed with great policy folks, is that we had the templates ready. We reviewed all the guidance that came in. We had them ready. We met daily to make sure that we knew kind of what our plan was when it was coming through. We waited on a couple of the webinars that came through on summer PBT, and were able to issue out our waiver the Wednesday after the first webinar that FNS had. I want to stress to you too, your FNS regional offices are very important to this. Our regional office reps were great at answering all the questions and sending back any information that they might need, and they did it really quickly. And so did the national office in this situation. We had no issues with the summer PBT plan approval process this year. We did look at last year's plan, and we corrected anything that we thought might have been something that we needed to correct to try to make sure that we learn from prior mistakes, and make sure that our press release had more information in it where it talked about eligibility and how it's critical to make sure that they fill out their free and reduced lunch application. We also meet weekly with our State Department of Education, and we have done that on since the beginning of the pandemic, to make sure that we understand what's going on there and how we can continue to improve the messaging. Also included in those weekly calls are our call center representatives that the management team there. They also attend those calls to let us know kind of what questions are coming in, where we could try to offer some guidance there. I can't say enough though about our community partners and our advocates. they've been beside us this whole pandemic and done nothing but been very helpful in helping us with messaging, any issues that we might have. Um, our advocacy groups at the food bank, Laura Lester, Beth Finch, and Carol Gunlock. They've done nothing but help us through this whole process for the last 3 years, and they were very critical in helping make sure that the messaging regarding summer P-EBT was out there, and that parents understood that it was there and it was coming, and that we were going to be able to provide that assistance for them. My last slide is just my contact information, and I'm going to lead it over to my colleague in North Carolina, and then I'll take any questions that you might have.
All right. Well, thank you, Brandon. I think you will hear very similar information that North Carolina went over. I'm very happy to be presenting now North Carolina's plan, and thank you, Kelsey and Frack, for having this this time for us to talk about summer P-EBT. Next slide. So I just want to start by giving you all just a little bit of history. In North Carolina, our SNAP program is really considered a food and nutrition. So you might hear me say FNS or food and nutrition. I'm really talking about the SNAP program here in North Carolina. So I wanted to start out with an overview. So just so that you can see from where we started to now. So you can see that we had many rounds of P-EBT, starting with the first round that came out in March of 2020. And so we have some milestones. We started with the student P-EBT through school year 2021. Then we did summer EBT 2021 for this in September of 2021. In January, we did the student EBT again. And we also have added childcare into the mix too. So, the main thing here is in all of, we have big numbers of how many we serve, the food benefit, but what is so impressive is the spend rate of what we have been looking at for the benefit of being 93%. Next slide. So just some key points in general, when we look at, in order for us to communicate with the public really effectively, we had to identify what all this meant. So what was the timeline for school and what was the timeline for summer? So the timeline for school, and it was childcare, is on the same timeline, is September through May. And then the summer is really June through August. So North Carolina elected just a standard benefit, just as Brandon did as well, and his team. And we give like one single payment. Usually that payment is like mid to late July. And we really stagger those payments over a 10-day period. And that is really because of the food chain and staffing shortages. We really communicate really closely with the grocery industry just to let them know what our plans are so that they will be ready for these different issuance. So the estimated benefit is approximately for 775,000 students and about 200,000 young children. That's those that are like six and under in the child care. So the full benefit actually goes to the last known household address. So one of the struggles with summer is that children move around a lot during the summer, but we made a decision. It was just more straightforward for us to use the last known address as the place that we would issue. So two main issuance at that time was issuance at the same time, somewhere between June 30th or late July. We actually make sure that we have like a full record of free and reduced price school meal information for the late May that comes from our Department of Public Instruction. They're our partner and have been our partner from the beginning. So we get theirs and we use their information, as well as we also pull the SNAP, those students that are, or younger children that are receiving SNAP. That's really what really kind of takes care of our child care. We'll issue the benefits and the students' child care kind of concurrently. We'll issue benefits in late July for all those that are eligible. And then we will have like a catch up time that we'll issue late May for anyone that becomes eligible over the summer. So that will kind of be our catch up. Next slide. So other kind of data logistics. So NC does not require applications for the summer P-EBT. So the NC school usually is statewide information that's pulled from our Department of Public Instruction. It's called Power School. And those information, along with what we get from our SNAP or food and nutrition services, those two are kind of the determining factor for eligibility. NC and we also develop a system to support EBT eligibility and issuance, which has been a major help. The system is programmed with checks ahead for each issuance to ensure the same children do not get a benefit from childcare and a student. Families with students and young children will be able to apply for the SNAP or the NSLP free and reduced price all throughout the summer. So we got to catch up for all of that. The next slide. So our notices, eligibility notice, we're mailed to household during the school year. However, this summer we will post it on our website. So we chose to do that for many reasons. First of all, the summer notice is a huge notice, and we're also facing just a little bit of supply chain issues with our mailing supplies. So the website was the best way, and all of our communications, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or anything, is we're driving them to go back to the website so they can have all this information. We have our P-EBT website. It has our English and our Spanish translation. And then we also have customer service. We implemented a bilingual kind of virtual agent so that will help some of the calls that come to the call center. So some of the basic answers, questions can be answered very easily using the virtual agent. And I believe that's the last slide. And here's my information to contact me if you have any additional questions. You can always either go to the website for more information, or you could send me a question. All right, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much. So these are just a few of FRAC's resources. Before the Q&A, I just wanted to quickly go over them. First is the FAQ for P-EBT on FRAC's website. The next is a fact sheet for the pandemic EBT program for children under 6 on SNAP. We included this because we know that childcare is the easiest way for states to reach the goals for the summer program. So the school year was a little bit difficult for states because of data restrictions. So the child care piece is going to be the easiest way to get a school year plan in place in order to get a summer plan. And the last one that we included was a blog about pandemic EBT and the importance of the program to reduce hunger for children. Next slide. So we are at the point where we are going to take some questions. We haven't had any in the chat or in the Q&A function, but feel free to drop those in now. I will start off with one question for the panelists. There's a little bit of a challenge with states getting that first list together. I know that a lot of states are using the same approach that they took last year, but getting the initial list for summer P-EBT is a big barrier. Do you have any pointers, any sort of advice that you would give states that are struggling to do that?
Well, in Alabama, we've been talking to the IT people over at the Department of Education since April in regards to this. However, I was sharing with you earlier, there has been some delays in getting that. The federal reporting in Power School all has to be combined, so that has been extended a couple of times. So we're probably not going to be getting our file till mid-July, which puts a little dent in our time frame to be able to do that. So. But the earlier better, the better, and whenever they close out their system, I think is when you probably need to catch that because and go ahead and pull that file.
And in North Carolina, because we have been doing this, for several cycles now, while it's still problematic sometimes, for the most part, we have identified that we will get that data in May, and that is actually before school ends. And so, as far as that, we're using that file for May, and then of course, because we have the FNS or the SNAP data, we can easily pull that. But definitely good communication. We actually established a particular code or codes that for the school year one, that's another problematic one, but we developed a special codes for whenever kids were absent for the student part of it. But for this particular one, we're just getting that whole dump of everyone who's eligible for free or reduced price school meals. And since we've been out we have not been using that data now for some time because we were doing seamless summer and then summer nutrition the years before. We are actually working very closely with our educational component, and they are really pushing getting those applications processed as soon as possible. And then, of course, we will have that catch-up disbursement.
Great, thank you so much. We did have another question come through about students who do not qualify for free reduced price meals throughout the school year, and will they be able to participate in the program. Unfortunately, this program is only for school-age students who qualify for free and reduced price meals and are certified for them. So their application has to be approved. They have to have that eligibility criteria met in order to participate in pandemic EBT. The other was about summer meals. Summer meals is a little different. That's going to be on a site-by-site basis, whether the site is open or closed, and who qualifies for what site. So that is a little bit more complicated, that you should probably reach out to your state or reach out to me afterwards, and I can put you in contact with somebody that knows a little bit about summer meals in the state. We had another question about schools where all kids received free lunch, and how did you or your states communicate with families to let them know that they need to apply for free and reduced price meals?
We included that in the messaging that went out to schools at the beginning. At the end of towards the end of the school year, and then also in the messaging that's going out to the child nutrition directors during the summertime. Our child nutrition people at the State Department also having webinar series with the child nutrition directors talking about how being able to open up that application throughout the summer. And we will take one additional file from DOE sometime in September of anybody that applied between June and August 31st.
And in North Carolina, we're doing very similar. again, because we've been doing this now for several cycles, we use the same communication, and then it's just part of our overall communication about summer EBT, PEBT. So we have it on all the different social media platforms, as well as that is part of what that when they go to our website, they can find out all that information. It's part of our virtual agent, as well as that information is dispersed through all of our call centers.
Wonderful, thank you. So there was a question about CEP districts, and all students that are in a CEP district will automatically receive pandemic EBT. They are considered qualified due to that provision. And yes, we will be sending out a copy of the presentation's PowerPoint and a recording within a few weeks. If anyone else has any more questions?
Kelsey, can I add real quick? Cynthia brought up a good point. Communication with the Grocers Association and the folks around your state with groceries and that are distributing those really is important. So any states that are dealing with this, they need to be talking to them, because when these benefits go out, there's a lot of demand for produce in those areas and other things that go on. So Cynthia brought up a good point. We've been doing that. They get about a 7-day countdown on our P-EBT distributions and about a 30-day notice on our emergency allotments.
Great, and thank you for bringing up the Grocers Association. For any of our participants that are in states that do not yet have a P-EBT plan in their state, do either of you have any sort of advice on different groups that were helpful in your state that they could reach out to help advocate in their states?
Well, for us, the first thing is with your Department of Education, whoever has that information that really establishes students as eligible. That's the first conversation, and just understanding, being very clear of the information you need and whether they can provide it. Because actually, if you can't really get that information, it's almost a moot point. And that would be where I would start first. But once you decide that you have a plan and you're going to do it, I would definitely say do a major cross section of all your advocacy groups to make sure that everyone is pushing it high, low, and deep. It's amazing how much people don't know about PEBT. So it's good to do all the channels, all your partners, I would say. Provide them with all the materials that you have developed and drive them to your website on PEBT and make sure they are sharing it widely.
Wonderful. And for some states that, for if anyone is an advocate in a state that does not have any plans, you can reach out to me. My contact information will go out with the follow-up email, and I can put my email in the chat. But we would love to work with any advocacy partners or any states that are struggling. We are happy to provide some TA, and we're happy to put you in touch with people who have put these plans in place, such as Cynthia and Brandon, as well as other state partners that we have. So my email is in the chat, and we would very much like to speak to anyone who would like to try to push forward PEBT in their state if they do not have it yet. And you are able to check if your state has the plan by going to the FNS website. Once again, I'll put a link in the chat, and we'll send this in the follow-up as well. But if you're not sure if your state has a plan or not, state plans are posted on the FNS website. I think it was just updated this morning, so these should be pretty up to date. And That's a very good point in the chat that, we know that the people are struggling, but, and we're really hoping to reach as many people as possible. And we're very glad that the Keeping Kids Fed Act passed, and we're able to do some work under the federal waivers. We know it's a little bit too late for some states, but we're hoping to keep getting students fed through every avenue, whether it be summer meals or pandemic EBT. We are at time, and I really do want to respect our panelists and your time. So I want to thank our panelists, Cynthia, Brandon. We really appreciate you coming on and speaking about your state plans. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday weekend, and we will see you soon.
Thank you. This was great.
Thank you. Cynthia, you did a great